According to one of the most accurate pollsters from 2016 and 2020, Donald Trump is headed for a comfortable electoral college victory. With looking at Rasmussen reports, it's pretty interesting because a lot of times they like to say, oh, it's a far right-wing pollster, when really their margin in 2016 was somewhat spot on, only a little bit off, and in 2020 they actually overestimated Joe Biden in the margin as well. Now they have Donald Trump up on average by 2 points in the electoral college map based on the popular vote. And so looking at this chart, we see Donald Trump is improving by 7 points nationwide, which would be a huge shift of the electorate swing to Republican. And so looking at the new demographic margins based out of the crosstabs from their latest poll, we now see that Donald Trump is headed for a comfortable victory in the electoral college. Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, as well as all of Nebraska, except the 2nd Congressional District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alaska, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia are all in the safe Republican column, as well as South Carolina. Looking at the safe Democrat states, we have California, Hawaii, the District of Columbia, Maryland, Massachusetts, and Vermont, just giving her 85 safe electoral college votes. Now, looking at the battlegrounds, we see Washington, a state that voted for Joe Biden by 19 points in the last election, is only going to be, based on their latest poll, a 13-point win for Kamala Harris, a 6-point Republican improvement in the state from 2020. Oregon, we see here about a 16-point win in the state, and we now can look at Oregon here and we'll see it's about an 11-point victory for Kamala Harris, once again being a pretty decent improvement of about 5 points for the Republican candidate compared to the last election. Nevada, a swing state Democrats have carried pretty vigorously since 2008, is now flipping Republican according to this new demographic model from their latest poll by a 5-point margin towards Donald Trump, which would match the 7-point swing of the nationwide popular vote. When looking at the model here, we see it's a 5.3 percentage point shift. The last election, a 2.4 percentage point shift, so about a 7-point shift in favor of the Republican candidate. Arizona, a state that voted for Joe Biden very narrowly in the last election because of Maricopa County, is now projected to flip by 6.4 percentage points to Donald Trump in this forecast due to Donald Trump's improvement with Hispanic voters in this poll. Colorado, only a 7-point win in this poll. Looking at this, we see that it was a 13.5-point win, so a 6-point shift to the right in Colorado definitely isn't the greatest sign for Democrats. And again, there is a decent amount of Hispanics in Colorado, and Trump actually leading with Hispanics in this poll may be the reason why this is the case in this poll. New Mexico, the state with the most Hispanics out of the entire country, is just a single-point win for Kamala Harris in this poll, despite it being an 11-point win for Biden last cycle, mainly because of the fact that if Donald Trump is improving with Hispanics by around 30 points, as this poll suggests, you're going to see it in a place like New Mexico before most states, because they do in fact have the highest electorate of Hispanics of the entire country. And so that's why you're seeing that take place in the state of New Mexico. Looking at Texas, we see about almost a 15-point win. It's a 14.7 percentage point win for Donald Trump in this forecast. Only a 5.6 percentage point win last time. So that's over about a 9-point shift to the right in the cycle, meaning that the state actually trends 2 points to the right of the nation because of Hispanic voters. And that those border counties really are huge differences. Like, look at Kennedy County. Clinton won that by 8 points. Donald Trump flipped it and won it by 32 points in the last election, while certain parts over here in the western or the eastern side of Texas actually moved left. And you saw here a lot of Tejano voters kind of moved Republican in the border, mainly because Donald Trump's policies were favored in that part of the state. If it weren't for those voters, Donald Trump probably would have only won the state by about 3 points, and it would have not been a good night for Donald Trump in the state of Texas. Iowa is another state that is voting for Donald Trump by around 13 points in this forecast. Nebraska second, a lean margin. Minnesota, 2 points for Donald Trump, or Kamala Harris, excuse me. A 2-point victory for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump probably improves in some of the rural areas, but slightly regresses in some of the more liberal parts of the state, and that's why you're kind of seeing Kamala Harris hold on Illinois, just a 10-point win. That's a 7-point underperformance from the last cycle where Biden won it by 17 points. This suggests that Kamala Harris more than likely will be doing worse with black voters than Joe Biden did just 4 short years ago. Wisconsin, a 4-point win, alongside Ohio at around 14 points for Donald Trump, Michigan at 3 points, and Pennsylvania at 4 points for Donald Trump. This Rust Belt sweep is definitely going to win him the election. Kamala Harris's really only viable path is really through the 3 Rust Belt states, and she has to pick off all 3 just to barely even win the election at this point in time. New York is in the safe category. We do see North Carolina and Georgia, as well as Florida, in the likely Republican column at around 8, 7, and 10-point victories, respectively, in this forecast, which are somewhat similar to my official forecast as of right now. Virginia, just about a 2.5-point win in this video, which is similar to my actual forecast of about 2.8% for Kamala Harris. Maine's first a likely district, as well as Maine second, and Maine at large due to the white vote kind of moving left from 2020. This is why you're seeing Maine still be in the likely Democrat column, but more than likely Donald Trump will improve with whites during this cycle. And looking at Connecticut, New Jersey, and Delaware, as well as Rhode Island, those are going to be likely Democrat states, including New Hampshire being in the lean Democrat column in this video. So comparing to the last cycle, Donald Trump gets 313 in the Electoral College compared to Biden's 306 to 232 for Trump in the last presidential election, showing that Donald Trump has improved massively with voters, especially in the Sun Belt, basically making that a lock for the GOP this cycle, with really the Rust Belt states essentially being the states that decide the election, and he wins those by about 3 to 4 points depending on the state, making this a somewhat modest victory in the Electoral College. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. And make sure to go ahead and give Rasmussen Reports a follow on X. You can follow them at Rasmussen_poll. And you can look at the profile for me at onpointpolitics is where you'd be following me on X as well. Go ahead and follow us on X, and we will see you guys in the next video.